Welcome to Side Hustle Rules. My name is Lou Reyes, and today we're going to be taking a look at the pros and the cons of working as a virtual assistant. And if you're somebody who's out there and you've been thinking for a while, or maybe even for a short time, should I start this business? What are the pros? What are the cons? What's the risk? What's the upside? What's the downside? Well, by the time you're done watching this video, I believe you'll be able to make a decision on whether or not this business is for you. And what I'll do is I'll use the insight that I've gained over decades, the decades of running a chain of business-to-business magazines, a weekly newspaper, running almost a dozen businesses, and of course, having the opportunity, I say the golden opportunity to have worked with literally hundreds of business owners over the years. I learned how they started their businesses, how they grew their businesses, how they made them successful. And of course, in some cases, in some cases, how their businesses weren't successful. I'm going to share that insight with you. So again, by the time you're done watching this video, my belief is you'll have a good idea on whether or not working as a virtual assistant is for you. That's all up next right here on Side Hustle Rules. Come on! Welcome back, my friends. My name is Lou Reyes, and as I said before the break, in this video, what I want to do is I'm going to look at the pros and the cons of working as a virtual assistant. And I'm going to take the perspective of, or I should say, as if this was a business that I'm looking at starting, what would I be examining? What are the pros? What are the cons? What's the impact that each would have on my success? I also want to take a look at the growth opportunity for this business, which is something that I always look at whenever I'm looking at starting a business. I look at the growth opportunity. I look at the risk because that's going to be real important too. Another thing that I try to do is I look at this, and this is something I suggest that we all look at, is if I put X amount of time into this business, that means I don't have that time to put into something else, whether it's my job, my relationship, or some other item that is important. So it's something to consider, is understand the time you put into this business, you're not going to have to put into something else. But of course, if the upside is so great, you're going to want to do it. So let's go ahead and take a look at the pros and cons of working as a virtual assistant. Now, what I do have is I have written down the pros and the cons. I sat down before I decided I was going to produce this video. I really sat down and just wrote down everything I could think of. What are the pros? What are the cons? How's it going to impact me? So let's talk about the pro number one, which I personally love, which is a flexible schedule. Now, when I say a flexible schedule, you can set, and I recommend that you set the amount of time that you want to work this business, whether it's marketing the business, whether it's doing the work for one of your clients, but you set your schedule. So you do have a flexible schedule. If you only want to work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, that's the days you work. If you want to work only on Saturdays, that's the day you work. If you're available in the evenings, that's the day you work. You set those restrictions. Now, keep something in mind. When you do set those restrictions, you are also telling your client or potential client, hey, I'm only available at this time. If it doesn't work for them, well, you know what? They're not going to hire you. But you do have that option of creating a flexible schedule. I like it. For me, I like working 6, sometimes 7 days a week, but that's me. You work a flexible schedule. You work what works for you. You get to be your own boss. And to me, that is extremely, I want to underline extremely important to me. I love being my own boss. I learned long, long ago that was the only way that I could work, I could survive, literally survive in this world, is by being my own boss and pretty much dictating who I was, what I wanted to do, and when I wanted to do it, and who I wanted to do it for. But being your own boss is very important to me. And if it's real important to you, and if it's critical to you, well, then working as a virtual assistant, you are your own boss, literally. Now, I do want to throw a caveat in there, and you can guess that if you are a virtual assistant or in any type of business that you have where you're working for a client, well, there are many folks out there that will say, well, you know what? Yeah, Lou, you are your own boss, but you're also working for someone else at the end of the day. And yeah, that is actually pretty true. But you pick who you work for. That's the difference. You pick who you work for. If you don't want to work for someone, you don't work for them. But to me, being your own boss, being able to look in the mirror every morning and say, you know what? I am the master of my fate. I'm the master of my future. That's important to me. And if it's important to you, if being your own boss is important to you, well, that's pro number 2. You can work from anywhere. Now, I happen to believe this is an incredible pro, an incredible benefit of working as a virtual assistant. There's no doubt about it in my mind. You can literally be laying in your bed with your laptop or in your iPad, and you could be just working away on whatever the work is that your client needs. You could be going on vacation, taking your laptop with you or take your iPad with you. Take it while you're driving, your spouse or your significant other is driving. You could be working away doing that work. You could do it in the evening. You could do it in the morning. You could do it in the afternoon. You do have to, of course, you've got to be available when your client needs you. And there is some pressure with that. I'll talk about that when we get to the cons. But I love the whole idea of the fact that you can work from anywhere. You can choose what services you offer. Now, of course, those services have to be or should be, they should match your skills, your experience, and of course, your knowledge. Without question, I do think that goes without saying. But the fact that you can choose the services you offer is definitely a pro, because you're going to offer services where you have expertise, where you have knowledge that people are willing to pay you for. And you know what? Nothing beats that. Nothing beats being able to say, hey, this is what I do. This is what I can do for you. And I know I can help you to be profitable. I know I can help you to be more efficient. So yeah, that's one of the pros. To me, it's one of the great pros is being able to choose what services you offer. You have unlimited earning potential. Yeah, unlimited earning potential. And after all, that is the carrot to being self-employed. That is the reason that we get up in the morning, is that we have the ability to use our skills, our experience, our talent to make money. And, you know, if we work hard and we take care of our clients, well, they're going to refer us to their friends, their business associates, and our income will just go up and up and up. As long as we take care of our client, yeah, you've got unlimited earning potential. And that, again, that's a real good reason to get into this type of business, a virtual assistant business. It does take some work. I'll be talking a little bit more about that when we come down to the cons. But as far as making money as a virtual assistant, well, that is certainly one of the big pros. Startup costs are low, and that is one of the rarities when it comes to starting a business. And I mentioned in the opening of this video that I was the publisher of a chain of business-to-business magazines. I was also the publisher of a weekly newspaper. I actually also had a radio show, a weekly radio show. I did start a chain of trade shows that were nationwide, and I will tell you that each one of those businesses I started, they required upfront capital to get those businesses off the ground. In my first business, I had to put in a ton of capital, but I also put in a ton of time, and I will tell you they were worth it. I wouldn't take it back for anything. I loved what I did. I loved those kinds of businesses, but they did require a lot of capital. Now, when it comes to this business here, when it comes to becoming a virtual assistant or working as a virtual assistant, the startup costs are relatively low. And in some cases, you can actually get by with no startup costs if that's what you decided to do or decided the way you wanted to start this. But the fact is, startup costs are low with this business. If you've got a laptop computer or an iPad, if you got a cell phone, if you got a place that you could sit down and work, and that place could even be a Starbucks if that's where you wanted to run your business out of when you're sitting at a table there. But startup costs are so low with this particular kind of business. What you're doing is you're leveraging your experience. I said a couple of different times in this video so far, you're leveraging your skill, you're leveraging your experience, you're leveraging your knowledge, and what you're doing is you're using that to help a client to be successful. And when you do that, you're going to be successful. But startup costs are low. I think in this case, for this particular type of business, it's one of the rare businesses that you can get into with almost zero money. Well, I just gave you what I consider to be the main pros of starting, or I said working as a virtual assistant. And I think what I covered in about 6 of those pros is I believe I covered pretty thoroughly what you can or how you can benefit by or from working as a virtual assistant. So now what I want to do is I want to get into the cons of working in this field, in this area, because there certainly are some cons, just like there are cons in any business that you are going to start, that you're going to work in. So now let's talk about the cons. You have to hustle to find clients. Now that is a con. But let me say this, in any business that you get into, any business whatsoever, you're going to have to hustle to find some clients. And in some cases, to find clients is going to take a huge expenditure of advertising. You're going to have to spend money advertising to reach the clients, to connect with them and have them, or hopefully have them, come to your business or come to your online store and make a purchase. So in any business you're going to get into, you are certainly going to have to hustle. Now, when it comes to this particular type of business, though, when it comes to working as a virtual assistant, I did a video not long ago where I just talked about going local or working local, which is something I recommend that you do. And you could even just stop in at a business and just leave a business card or leave a flyer, however you want to do it. You can make a phone call. If that's what you want to do, you can find out who the decision maker is and send them an email. But you got to hustle. That is a con. Not everyone wants to work hard. I quite frankly don't understand that, because I think there's no choice. If you want to leave that world where you go in every single day working for somebody else, if you want to leave that and start your own business, well, you know what? If you want to become a virtual assistant, you're going to have to work hard. You're going to have to hustle to find clients. Working as a virtual assistant can be lonely. If you're used to working in an office and you're used to working with other folks, next to you, behind you, in front of you, in the next office over, in the office from that, yeah, you know what? You're not going to have that anymore. You're literally going to be, you are your own business. You are your own meal ticket. You are going to have to work. And yeah, it can be lonely, I suppose. I've been doing it for a while now. I've been working on my own. So for me, I'm used to doing it. And I will tell you, you'll get used to doing it too over time. What really matters to me, and I think would matter to you, is when you start seeing those checks come in, those automatic deposits that are coming in, and you start seeing that money and you start thinking, you know what, this actually is fun. And because you're able to set your own hours, well, you know what, you can work those 3 hours or 4 hours or whatever it is, 8 hours. But you can work a few hours and go off somewhere, maybe visit a family member, maybe visit a friend. You've got to be focused if you want to build that business, especially in the beginning. But yeah, there is a spell, I suppose, of loneliness. And I say a spell because over time you'll overcome that. And over time what will happen, I believe, you'll actually enjoy the idea, the ability to work hard, the ability to make the money that you want. I think you'll overcome that loneliness. Working from home comes with a lot of distractions. Now, I did mention that if you want to work as a virtual assistant, you could work pretty much from anywhere, which is definitely true. You could be in your car, somebody else driving. You could be sitting at Starbucks. You could sit at your home. You could be in bed working from your bed. But here's the thing. Working from home Working remotely, yeah, it does come with distractions. You've really got to try to shut everything out and just focus on your business. And one of the things that I tell you that I do, and when this is a tip for you, is I will literally look at my clock or at my watch, and I will say, okay, from 9 o'clock to 11 or 9 to noon, 3 hours, 2 hours straight, nothing is going to get in my way. Shut everything out as best I can. Shut the door in your office, or if you're working out of your home, shut the door out of your bedroom if that's where you're working. Shut that door. Let nothing disturb you. Now, I understand sometimes that's not possible, but you've got to find a way to avoid the distractions. It can be hard to separate work from home. Now, I heard someone say this not long ago. Actually, I think I was watching a YouTube video and someone said this about working as a virtual assistant. And I thought, yeah, I could definitely see where that could happen, where you would find it hard to separate both, especially if you know you've got work to do and you're in your other room in your home and you think, I've got work to do and I really should get that done. So now you find yourself excusing yourself after dinner, or maybe from work, being with a family member, maybe being with your kids. I've got to go get this work done. And even though probably it could be done another time, that pull, that draw makes you want to sit down and get that work done. And for me, it does happen quite frequently. You want to get the work done, but my suggestion and my tip would be to set your hours, work those hours, and everything else. You've got to force yourself not to let your work and your home overlap. Multitasking. For some people, multitasking, yes, it is a con. For others, people like me, multitasking is just, it's a pro because, you know what, it comes with the territory. I know it does. I'm used to doing it. I enjoy being able to do multiple things because certainly you're not going to be bored and there are challenges. And when you're in business, if you enjoy challenges, well, you know what? Multitasking it's certainly not a con. But for a lot of people, yeah, multitasking, especially in the beginning, it can be a con. Not only do you got to get that business off the ground, you got to start it, which, by the way, before we go on with this video, I want to mention I do have my free side hustle starter kit. I just did an update on it. It's available. There's a link in the description box. So if you're looking at starting a business, there is a link to my free side hustle starter kit in the description box. So yeah, when you're starting a business, multitasking, that's a part of it. You got all these things you've got to do to get that business off the ground. Then once you get the business rolling along, yeah, you've got to do marketing. You've got to do outreach, or you should be doing outreach. Networking is always something that is important. Then, of course, you got the back end. You've got accounting. You've got bookkeeping. You've got things like that you've got to concern yourself with. You've got payables. You've got accounts receivable. So you have a lot of moving parts. So being a multitasker, if you're good at it, if you're really good at it, well, then you can be efficient and you can get those things done. And you'll just simply, for me, I've always allowed X amount of hours to get done what I needed to, or on certain days I did certain things, and that really does help. It helps to keep yourself organized. But multitasking, yes, it's a pro, but it's certainly a con. There are no health benefits or paid time off. Well, that is certainly a con for a lot of folks, especially if you're somebody who's been in for a long time, a real long time. You've been working at a company and you're so used to getting that paycheck every couple of weeks. You're used to having that paid time off when you need it. You get your health insurance paid, or at least mostly paid. If you're working for an employer, you're working for a larger company, well, then you have a lot of other benefits that come along with that, usually. But that is a con. It's something that people sometimes, I'd say most of the time, have a little difficulty with. It's challenging because you don't get that paid time off. If you're not working, you're not making money, you're not getting paid. Now, let me walk that back just a little bit. I said if you're not working, you're not making money, you're not getting paid. Well, if you set your business up properly, and I say properly, and there are ways that you can do this. Well, what'll happen is if you set your business up and you have some other revenue streams that are coming in that come in conjunction with your virtual assistant business, well, you could be making money even though you're not sitting at your laptop or sitting at your desktop and typing away or working away. So I did want to walk that back a little bit. It is possible to make money, but again, I just want to emphasize, if you are working as a virtual assistant, you're not going to get health benefits. You're not going to get that paid time off if you use it. You got to take care of that stuff yourself. Well, there you go, my friends. I've just given you the pros and cons of working as a virtual assistant. And what I did is I covered working as a virtual assistant as if I was going to do this business. If I was looking at it and I was writing down, which by the way, I did do this. I wrote down the pros, I wrote down the cons, I wrote down what was important, what I knew was important to me. And I wrote it down and I shared that with you. So if you do have any questions about anything that I've written or talked about here today, please go ahead and comment in the comment box. You can send me an email. If you want to work with me at any point, let me know. Send me an email and just say, hey, Lou, I'd like to work with you to help you. I need your help to start a business, and we can work on the details once we talk. I would like to learn more about you and what your goals are before we do anything. But getting back to this, I wrote down what I know is important. Now, I do want to say one last thing about this. You can take this business and actually leverage the beginnings of this business. You can leverage working for a couple clients. You can actually take that and scale it up quite a bit. This is one of those businesses that I love because you can scale it. You can actually work in a geographic area. Maybe you work in a particular niche. Maybe you're only going to work in accounting / bookkeeping. Maybe you want to work in a particular area where you work with attorneys. You work in the legal field. So there are different ways you can do this particular business. But when you do this business, you can leverage up. You can scale it and build it into a fairly large business if that's what you want to do. Obviously, that's always important to me. That's why I'm bringing it up. You probably could guess that, right? So anyways, that's all I got for you today. If you have any questions, please go ahead and submit your questions. I did want to say once again, I do have my free side hustle starter kit. The link is in the description box. Check it out. It could really help you if you're somebody who's looking at starting a business. It's going to guide you along the way to get that business off the ground. Well, again, that's all I got for you today. I want to thank you for watching this video. And as I always say, have a great day, everybody. Come on!